So I'm here at Pinot Noir, New Zealand 2010 with Rebecca Gibb, wine writer for Decanter, and rather quite the lady of the wine world right now. How are you doing, Rebecca?
I'm very well, although I am a little nervous of what you're going to ask me right now. I have to say something intelligent.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay, I'll try.
So let's see your hand. Now, what's the meaning behind this tattoo you had on your hand?
Well, I worry you're going to ask me some tricky questions, so I've prepared myself already.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's a bit worrying.
Now tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into Pinot Noir 2010.
Fine. Okay, I've just moved to New Zealand about 7 weeks ago. Yes, it's a man. I've just moved from London, where I was a freelance journalist, and I write for lots of the UK magazines. I write for a couple of US magazines.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
Now, what do you think of Pinot Noir 2010? How has it been for you?
Been a mixed bag, really. Generally good. I've particularly enjoyed the socialising at the Matterhorn.
I'd heard that about your evenings,
that's
actually.
That's where we met, yes. Yeah. No, but I think the tastings have been really interesting. Particularly today, we did the international Pinot Noir tasting where we took New Zealand versus America versus Australia versus Burgundy. And I think that was a really interesting tasting. Unfortunately, the Burgundies didn't really show very well. I think it's a real problem with Burgundy. They're suited to food and wine matching, and I also think that the 06s are quite tight and close and wasn't a great vintage. So I think it's a little unfair on Burgundy, but the New Zealand wine showed really well. But had you were in New Zealand, you have to be a little bit sceptical whether maybe that's why they showed those wines.
Now, do you think it was slightly contrived, as in showing that particular weak vintage for? You can say whatever you wish.
I would hate to implicate anybody in this, but we are in New Zealand, and I'm now a resident here, which I should not probably accuse anyone here, but but no, it was surprising that the wines they chose from the Burgundy wines that they chose were showing so badly, and the wines that they were showing from Burgundy were showing so well. From New Zealand were showing so well.
Now, what do you think we learned from this conference as a whole?
I think we learned New Zealand's come a long way in the last since the last Pinot Noir tasting.
Were you here for the last one?
I wasn't actually, no, but from what I've heard and from what we've tasted in the 2000s, we tasted the 2003s the other day, didn't we? And the 2003s, they were looking a bit tired and a bit over the hill. There were a few wines that were still showing well. There was like 3 out of the 7 that were showing well, but in all, I think that was a really unrepresentative tasting of where New Zealand is now. I think since the 2003 vintage, New Zealand's come quite a long way. Obviously, everyone keeps talking about the vine age.
No, but I think it's also to do with the maturation of the winemaking techniques and of the winemakers and their understanding of the fruit itself.
No, I think the New Zealand viticulturists and I think New Zealand winemakers have come a long way in that time. They have gone to the New World, they've gone to Chile, or they've gone to the US, to Oregon, or they've gone to maybe somewhere like Russian River, and they've actually learned that what maybe they were doing wrongly for them. They've got a massive handle on using oak better. They're not really extracting tannins so much. They're just letting the tannins do their own thing now. And I think they've come a long way. So I hope in like sort of 7 years' time when we try the 2009s and 2016 that those wines are showing a hell of a lot better than the 2003s.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
Sure.
Now, will you be coming back for 2013?
If they'll have me, I'm hoping not to offend the New Zealand wine industry
I
too badly in the next 3 years, so I might get an invite back.
I had the best time at this conference. I've been to many all over the world, and I think it was one of the most well organized and most skillfully executed conferences I've ever been to.
And next time I'd like to see some more controversial issues being addressed.
Do you think people were being a little bit too polite, a little bit too
benign?
benign?
I think a lot of international journalists, e.g. Neil Martin, Tim Atkin, they have the balls and they have the stature to be able to stand up there and say what they feel. I think a lot of us don't feel confident enough to get up there in front of 400 delegates and say, actually, I don't like this wine.
Actually, this is because there were some wines I was like, this is sort of shit, actually.
I know, and I think it was touched upon a lot in the conference that New Zealanders are very modest and they're not really prepared to be controversial, which the British and the US delegates were.
Can I just say English and US delegates
English?
as opposed to British?
British, well, yeah, there were no Scots or Northern people.
Barring
Northern
myself.
Ireland. I know that barring yourself, what? I couldn't tell from your accent at all. I'm closer to Edinburgh than I am London with my accent.
Now, I know
so,
some of my friends are going to be asking, some of the listeners will be asking about your accent. You come from...
yeah, from Middlesbrough, the industrial capital of Europe. What else can I tell you about Middlesbrough? Captain Cook was born there.
Captain Kirk was born there.
Cook.
I know.
And the Sydney Harbour Bridge was built in Middlesbrough.
And then moved down...
And shipped to Sydney.
Bloody hell, I never knew that.
Every day's a skill day. Oh, actually, Paul Daniels, the magician, is also from Middlesbrough. And me.
What was his catchphrase again?
Not a lot, but you'll like it.
Thank you very much, Rebecca Gibb.
No worries.
Love you very much.
Oh, of course.
Bye-bye.
Bye.